We set out to basically follow the rules and to set up everybody else to whatever. I think we accomplished that pretty well. We definitely started off on a lighter note.
I can tell you I was very inspired by the visual tone of what he did. I took absolutely that, and we repeated motifs for sure on purpose because we found them immediately inspiring and we wrote them down.
Quasi-comedy, it's kind of what we specialize in. I think we accomplished our goal, and we're pretty proud of our final product.
There was a car, we kept wanting to do car shots, and every time there was a car, and after our film, I thought, that's from Bill. Like that carried, and I think that was mostly Bill. The writing was really sharp, and there was a line from that inspired us that was,
The great thing about the violin scam, at least from a moral point of view, is that it won't work on a good person. So if you fall for it, you deserve what you get.
So those two elements were so diverse and rich, the visual style and the film noir techniques and then the voiceovers and the motifs. And as the first person who had to follow the rules after you, which we did, with joy, I felt it was really, really a great work, and I was very happy.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
You had a really, really wonderful balance of comedy and seriousness, because they were still dealing with a serious situation, and that didn't really end up very well for them. It took a dark turn at the end, which is kind of, I think, where the rest of us ended up.
I just like the pacing, how it felt. I mean, that's kind of one of the things with a con film.
You didn't stick to one setting longer than you needed to. Cool, they're at Fairgrounds, and I thought I was about to watch 2 or 3 minutes. No, you're talked up on the next thing. That was perfect.
And I think with the overall project having to deal with escalation, I think that was the beautifulest. I mean, that was the best way to set it up. Because if you had ended it by, the world will explode if we do this, then what are we going to do?
We're going to go with that.
Exactly. Not a lot to do after that.
That's such a one of the original elements in our film was this document was going to be sort of fantasy related, and it was Rachel and the daughter that were going to be this team to fight something, and it was sort of partly inspired by.
I do love where that ended up. With
well,
the
no, that's
document,
it.
and that was.
That's how it escalated. If I had done that, then it wouldn't have been able to escalate to where it sort of got more interesting for Jon.
Picking up exactly where Richard left off and watching his film, one of the things that stood out to me more than anything, first of all, was like you said, how beautiful it looked beautiful, and
that
also
was Sarah. Other team leader Sarah Kaminsky could not be available. She's right there, but she's not allowed to be here.
When our writer, who is LaWanda Edwards, she pretty much was the one who really kind of fleshed out what is really happening to this girl as a result of her mother's death, and so we kind of wanted to focus on that, and then have the escalation happen at the end, and our plan was to just escalate it not as much as we could, but to really do it and then stop.
That tension was so much fun as a storyteller was to go, okay, so I think some people were slightly disappointed that I killed every single character in their film that might have made it in the next film. And I was a little douchey. I felt a little douchey because originally that was not the case. The shadow puppet thing, the shadow puppet was going to be Rachel, shadow sexing Bill, and shadow sexing Nick, which made me gag because I didn't want to use actors who were pretending to be the same character, because for me, that's a continuity issue I can't overlook. I can overlook a document that's maybe different, it's kind of funny in the context, but when you have a person who's black playing a person who's white, playing a person who's Asian, playing a person who's green, and they never say a name, I find that off-putting. The character of that female just wouldn't let me go, and it evolved so that it turned into something so dark. I thought, well, those people don't even make it in my film. They're dead off camera.
Yeah.
You just hear them fall. My bad guy's bad.
Well, I feel like Richard's legacy in this project.
Can we talk about legacy?
Will be that
Let's talk about legacy.
I mean, he made it about the character as opposed to the
Very much
situation at that point, and
Yes.
that obviously kind of changed the scope a little bit.
Well, and because the theme of our films was supposed to be escalation, and I think that it would have been easy for you to have just escalated it all the way to the top unnecessarily, but your escalation was much more character driven, and I thought that was very effective.
Yeah, and I think Richard. I know Richard's one of his fears, and it was mine too. Is how do you keep the characters going throughout as much as possible? And I think seeing it now, Richard's and then followed by Ezra's, I think. And actually, I didn't even. It was hard to tell when one actually did end and when
It
when
really
ended.
worked.
And I actually totally missed it on the first two because I just didn't know the format. But I was like, okay, wow, like Bill's really setting this up for some twists, and I was like, oh, we're already in we're already in like, the next one now.
Yeah,
Okay,
I feel like as a piece, it's stronger than the individual parts, and I really wanted that to be the case.
I
like
agree.
a total goal, we thought very hard about. How does it feel like it fits? It's great to if you watch that and say there's no way you can connect those two stories.
That's
I'll
true.
bet you know it's so much fun,
yeah.
isn't it? Right?
That is
That's collaboration. This does not work if you watch my piece alone. You don't watch my piece.
Thank you for giving us an excuse to all get together.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Thank you so much.
Definitely,
Hey,
definitely.
I give you a lot of shit. This is as much fun as I've had in a really, really long time. I am dead serious. I had
If I
great
may make
time.
a suggestion for next year,